Hello everybody, I'm Giuseppe Basili, also known as the FibStalker, and this is our weekend video review for the week number 13, starting today, Sunday, March 25th, 2018. It's 20 past 10 p.m. EST time in Toronto, and this video is part of the FibStalker Analysis and Trading Service. As usual, I ask you to read and accept the disclaimer here. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Trading Forex carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please, if you're watching this video, you have not read and accepted this disclaimer first, please pause the video and read it now. Okay, thank you very much. So let's start, and let's have a weekly review. Part 1, we will start from the ESP 500 here, which we see now on the screen. So we had quite a painful week last week, and actually we have anticipated what could be a little bit the move in this market. In fact, if you remember, we anticipated this extension here, then the same anchor new low came into play here and brought eventually price into first, second target, and well past that second target. Okay, now on the larger time frame here, we have a potential for a retest of 25.27. I also have another level here on the monthly. If you look at this chart here, this is the extension highs to the last extension long we had here, and if you remember, we actually captured this extension here. Highs to new highs, first and second target were hit here, and there is also another level on the monthly here, which is a little bit below, is the 24.82. okay, that's the extension, weekly extension long. So this market is of course extended now, and I'm looking for a potential for a retrace into the if we are going to see a continuation lower, this market is going to at least retrace into the extension short here. That's the 26.41. okay, so if you're long this market, that's where we could see this market stopping previous resistance as well, and previous support, now resistance, and that's what could happen in this market. Dollar index has been like the hound of the Baskerville here. We were looking for a correction in this market, correction higher, but that correction never came, and that's sometimes an indication that continuation of the move lower could happen. Now technically this market is still on top of 50% long, and we have to respect that, lows to highs. That's what we see here. This level, the 89.10, has been respected a number of weeks here, and it still is respected here. So until that's until the level is holding, that has been proven, seeing participation in the dollar index, we have to respect that. If the 88.77 is broken on the downside, then we might see previous lows being retested here. Okay, so we still don't know. Gold, very strong move higher, and it seems to be anticipating a continuation lower for the dollar index, and that's what we saw this week. We saw again a confirmation of that 50% that was tested Friday as well as Tuesday here, 13.04. We were looking for weakness in this market, according to a correction higher dollar index that never materialized, and this market is trading 50% longs here, but on the daily, on the weekly, and on the daily here, and now this market has targets above. So if we were to consider what's going to happen next in the dollar, only considering and based on gold here, we would say that gold is targeting 13.14 area here, 13.97. That's where we could see this market moving to. Silver has been relatively weaker. We know that. We have seen this weakness now for a few weeks. This market is still correcting in a lateral fashion here, and this might continue for several weeks. So it's not really an edge in this market. We will see whether the strength in the gold is going to be matched by a renewed strength in silver as well, but at the moment we see a lot of weakness here, so not really a very technical market. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this market at this stage. Australian dollar, US dollar, this market has tried to trade at 50%. That level never came into play. So as I mentioned also at the beginning of last week, we have to consider something else. We have to consider an extension short that is actually currently pushing this price lower. Now, if that continues, the first target was hit here, and you know, we know in this market that the next measure move here has failed, and so what we are looking for in this market is you know, just these range conditions here, and the possibility of testing the 74.79. The way we modeled the move for the last correction here, for lack of better ways, we use this extension long here. So that's the first level, 75.85 should come into play here. Of course, we would need weakness in the dollar as well, but this move lower can continue. Excuse me. And last week we also had an important development. The only technical move, traditional technical move that we had here, actually reached its first target to the pip. So this trace here is relevant, it's significant, and we see that from the profit taking that happened just at this 72 level here. Okay, so what's the next measure move? If the market continues its correction higher, it's going to be a high to lows here, and that would come at 78.30. That's the level where we would see this market come to if it is indeed trading in traditional measure move shorts. Euro, a dollar, we were looking for a drop in this market, but that drop did not come. This market still keeps hovering around previous size here. How many weeks we had? Basically lateral move here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 weeks. It's more than 2 months here. It's basically since the beginning of the year. So there's not been the best market to for profits here, and this move, this keeps being a lateral move here with 50% long and short not being respected, and that obviously causes more uncertainty here. We'll need to see. Eventually, one of these two parties will give up. We'll need to see whether this market is going to continue higher with a weaker dollar or lower. And at the moment, we're seeing this market moving laterally. So not really a big edge in this market. There's not really a lot we can say. The pound here has moved into that second target when we are considering this extension that we traced since last year. We were considering this trace here. The highs to new highs found initial participation here and then failed, and then this market came to find support from an inner measure move here. We could only find that after the fact, unfortunately, and that's what's currently pushing this price higher. So this price also has a 50%, just remove that. So this price is also 50% above current prices here. So when we trace again the measure move, which is in action now, we see that it has the strength to bring price into the 146.06, as well as the second target very, very close to that 61% level of the opposing measure move. So this move is strong and continues higher here, and we can use the extension that we just identified here, the 132 20-30 level here to highs to identify the support in this price. Okay, even if that comes after the fact, we can always use that to define what's likely to happen next. We have an extension here that also came into play on the daily, and that's what was actually pushing price higher. So we have also two targets here on the daily time frame, 142.85 and above, which helps price into that 50% short. US dollar, Canadian dollar. We have seen a lot of strength in the last few weeks here, and then market stopped right at that 50%. In fact, the 61% level here of the opposing 50% measure move was actually respected, and I'm talking about this trades from the high to low here. Found participation initially, market continued higher, and then it found participation again. So that suggests that this phase of strength in the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar might be coming to an end here, and now these areas are traded. So this area has targets below. So if this market continues lower, there is a possibility for a strong continuation on the downside. That's what smart money is suggesting at the moment. US dollar, Singapore dollar, US dollar, Swiss franc. Of course, this market has traded in extension, in traditional measure move long, and we can see that very clearly here on this chart. When we trace from the lows here to after this high was printed, the market in 2 days came into the 93.38. The market took off and eventually went into that first target. In the process, it also traded in a 50% here. So very technical market, and now this market is coming to, and it's actually currently trading the 50%, the next 50% long. Okay, so if we had dollar strength, this would be a no-brainer here. But still, it's a technical trade, and there is the possibility for a continuation higher into the next target. The next target would be above previous prices here, and that would be in the 96.22 area. Okay, so technical market, this level has been respected so far, and this could actually push this price higher during the week. US dollar Japanese yen, on the other hand, has been very weak, reflecting strength in Japanese yen. That is something that we saw since this market showed, lost in a way its technical ability to respond to smart money traces here, and we saw that the last time this market has responded to 50% short was in this area here on the monthly. Then the next measure move short actually failed, suggesting a continuation higher, but then the market came down and broke the 50%. So at this point, this larger time frame is suggesting a move into 166. That's where we could see this market moving to, and we've seen continuous weakness in this market, strength in the Japanese yen, and this could continue this week as well. What is unfortunate is that this market is not at all trading very technically here on the daily time frame, and in any time frame for what concern this market. So we had an extension short initially trading here, and that brought price into that first and second target, but then the following measure move in a market that typically is very technical. If you go back to to previous years, this is a very technical market, and it could be here the unwinding of the carry trade here, the cause of this lack of technicality. But What we can anticipate now, this week, is a continuation lower. On the daily, this market has traded 50% short here, as you can see, and that has brought price into first and just second target here, just below price. As you can see here, this red here, it's the second target that has traded, and that gives us the opportunity and the possibility to trace the next measure move. So this market continuation lower, especially if the dollar index continues lower, could come here at this 105.10. 105.10 is the area to watch in this market this week for a continuation lower in the US dollar Japanese yen. Okay, so that has not traded yet. It might trade, and it's likely to trade at the beginning of the week here, maybe tomorrow, and we will see how that is going to, that level, that area of participation is going to affect the US dollar Japanese yen. New Zealand dollar, US dollar has traded an extension long here. This extension long has traded 2 times already. You will remember it has traded at the beginning of February here, at the beginning of March, and now again during March here, that has held, and that has targets above. Actually, there is an area of resistance which is 50%, the 50% that has traded back in July last year. At this point, that seems to be the area where this market is being pushed. So there is a long way to go there, and opportunities on the shorter time frames as well, using dump and smart money here. So that's what we're going to look for at this point. 75.21 could be the level, and this 71.87 has now been confirmed for the third time. This market had all the opportunities to continue lower if that was the case, but this level has been defended. And finally, for this first part, US dollar, Singapore dollar, which is showing continued weakness. I use this market as a proxy for the dollar index, and this is suggesting a continuation lower for the dollar index this week. And this market at this point, it is trading what we see here, an extension that you identified after the fact here, but that has been retested, and it now has targets below 128.74, 126.55, with the possibility to break this 129.66 lower below. Okay, so this is it for this first part. I'm going to publish this, and then I'm going to start the review of the second part. I'll see you in the trading room. Bye bye now.